So is it possible to be a real estate agent and a full-time student at the same time? Yes, I would say it's possible, and it's doable, but you need to have proper expectations and understand the limits of doing both at the same time. I haven't discussed it on this channel because I needed to have my own experience first before discussing it on video. But I've been a full-time student for the past 3 years, and I've also had a full-time real estate schedule at the same time. And I would say there definitely needs to be a sacrifice in your life to keep these two things together, keep these two things active. And what really helps is to have a proper expectation. And I'll discuss 3 things, which one being proper expectations of doing both, 2 being your purpose, why you're doing these things so that you can continue when it's hard, and 3 being why I did both, and perhaps the reasoning of why I did both can help you make your decision if you're in this position. So having the proper expectations of doing both, I would first off say that if you're going to do both, be a full-time student and be a full-time real estate agent, or at least have a part-time schedule, whatever you decide to do, just understand that if you're going to be splitting yourself in 2 directions, you're not going to get the full results of someone who is dedicating their entire working day towards one thing. So let's say I did real estate full-time and just do real estate and not go to school. I would probably have a more well-balanced life and better results in real estate had I not done school at the same time, and vice versa goes for being a full-time student. I could do more as a student if I didn't have a working schedule. But it's more than just understanding that you're not going to produce more doing one if you instead did both. It's also understanding your mental limitations, the sacrifices that must be made during these times. Now, you know, a lot of people, when they're going to college, they have a social life, they're able to go out, they're able to have fun with a lot of friends. I didn't do that, and I purposely knew that it wasn't going to happen, mainly because my focus had to be specifically on what I wanted to achieve out of both things. Most of my schedule, I would say, for the first 2 years was work from, let's say, 7:30 and 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. And then from 5 p.m., or I would say 5:30 to 6 p.m. until 8:30, 9 is dedicated to night classes or online schools. During the weekends, it's a bit more flexible, but most of that time on the weekends would be dedicated towards catching up for school. My GPA for school was around 3.5, 3.6 for junior college, community college, whatever you call it. And it was better because I was able to enroll in a lot of online classes. And if you're able to do that, that's what I highly recommend, mainly because you can work a very flexible schedule with school. I wanted to have my real estate working schedule very rigid, between 7 to 8 in the morning until 5 to 6 p.m. at night, and that's because that's when most people are doing business. And I wanted to maintain that schedule. You have to be disciplined in both aspects, because if you don't have a discipline and structured schedule, it's very easy to have a lot of things start running you instead of you running your schedule. And especially when it comes to the social life, you never know when someone is going to ask you to go out, or someone's going to pull you for different things to do throughout the week. I forgot that, mainly because I needed to stick to what I wanted to accomplish. I had goals in place that I need to accomplish, and it didn't allow me to have my time wasted on different things with social activities. So proper expectations, you're not going to have the same full-time results as people, but it's important to understand that if you have an understanding of the limitations, if you expect yourself to not produce the same amount, you will save yourself a lot of mental stress. I would say that I expected a lot more myself, mainly because I was doing real estate with a full-time schedule, but because of the mental limitations put in place by school and the mental fatigue of doing both at the same time, it really weighed down on the activities that I did while working in real estate. And that's probably not something that you'll understand until you do it, but just understand that you will need to have, I would say, an understanding of how much you can work. of the output, that the input you can put in and the output that is a result of that, to, I would say, place yourself in a not much of a stressful state, because it is stressful, but that's what I have to say about that. Now, the second point I want to make is having the proper mentality and purpose. The reason why I went into college was because, it helps to have options. When you're so young at 18 or 17 or 18 and you're making a decision to go into real estate sales, you never know who you're going to come out of, who you're going to be in the next 4 years. My mentality and my approach to my work and my personality and characteristics is much different than what it was 3 years ago. And I learned a lot about myself by putting myself out there. And that's something that is a benefit if you're going to be doing both. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. But to commit yourself to one thing from a very young age is something that I learned is very risky. And you never know who you're going to be. So it helps to have options and to have a wide playing field and a lot of options to choose from. That's because there's just some things that you won't know about yourself until you put yourself in a very tight position. So I would recommend, if you're really young and if you have the option to do both, it's to do both. But a caveat to that is, if you're gonna be doing both, make sure you have the intention to do both with maximum output or maximum input and maximal results. Don't half-ass the work. My intention with real estate was to never BS my way through. I wanted to put in work at the same level as the high producers. I never wanted to have a lazy mentality towards my work because I had pride in my work. I wanted to do such a good job that everyone would come to me for business. And for the clients that I work with, yeah, they definitely say that I did them a favor. I did them a good job. And just because you're doing both and you have an escape route with college doesn't mean that you could slack off with your work. You have to have a proper mentality and a proper mindset towards doing both. Just because you have a responsibility in something unrelated to your real estate work doesn't mean that you can just forget about your clients, forget about your lead generation, and forget about your business. Your business is also your life, and you got to treat it somewhat like your baby. I never wanted to slack off in my work, and that's because my identity in itself was also attached to my work. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But when it comes to doing school as well, especially in this age when there's a lot of, business pages, entrepreneur pages on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, social media, YouTube, they always talk about how college doesn't teach the younger generation the skills necessary to do well in the workplace. And I would say mostly that's true. A lot of the skills that I've learned and a lot of the business experience that I've developed has come from working and not school. Most of the things I've learned in school don't really apply to the workplace. But there are benefits that you get from being at school that you just don't get when it comes to working in a business. One of them obviously being a degree, a recognizable certification, things like that. But the proper mentality that I think when it comes to approaching school is that you're not going to get the skills and you're not going to get the experience just sitting on your ass and just going through your classes. You have to find some experience. You have to find some working experience and apply yourself to situations where you can prove yourself valuable. Obviously, for me, that would be working in real estate sales, serving clients, researching the market, providing analysis for people. That in itself was very valuable to me, and it still is. That is experience that no one can take away from me, and it differentiates myself from all the other people who work in, let's say, fast food restaurants, or they serve as baristas, or they do all this other typical college student work. My experience is much more valuable and applicable to many other different jobs, and a lot of other college students don't have that experience, and that's what separates me. And the only reason why I was able to achieve that experience is because I had the mindset before going to college that this institution, this school, this outdated educational system is not going to give me the tools needed to succeed in the workplace. I have to get that myself. So as long as you understand that, yes, you can play the game, play within the system, get your degree, get your schooling done, get whatever certification you need, but still have the audacity and the drive to get that experience outside of that school, then I would say that you're in a good position. That was my mentality, and that was my purpose for doing both. And I would say that I definitely got the benefit of both worlds. Now, third reason, or third point of this video, why I did both. I talked about it a little bit already in the beginning, or the second point. I wanted to have options. And, you know, my intention was never to go to school when I was 17 or 18 years old, graduating high school. My intention was never to go to college, mainly because I had this really naive outlook that college was not going to help me, and getting a job would be easy anyway because I had real estate experience, etc. I wouldn't say that's the case now. There's a lot of things that you can get into with a college degree and the connections you receive with a college education. And I've yet to see that play out in the following years, but it's just being so naive to how the world works and how the system is played out that, you know, you can't make yourself an anomaly in a world that is so structured and so built on tradition. You know, this whole tradition of getting a job after high school, or getting a job after getting a college degree, is so ingrained in everyone's minds that it's hard to not make yourself, or it's hard to be the anomaly in the situation. And this comes in part with, you know, playing the game. As one of Robert Greene's laws in the 48 Laws of Power is, don't make yourself stand out. Play within the system and abide within the rules that people have set for you. And that's kind of what I've learned throughout this whole experience is, you never know when you have to play within the system to get what you want. Now, my life can change 5 years from now, and it certainly has within the past 3 years. It might be the case where I might get out of real estate. I don't know. I have to find out more about myself, but that's the thing. You never know who you're gonna be, especially at such a young age. 3 years of working in real estate has revealed more to me than the past 5-10 years of being in school. And that's mainly because I've applied myself in these situations, to these working situations, and I've put myself in a lot of stress. So learn how to play the system. The reason why I did both is to have options, but I'm glad that I was recommended that I go to school, or I would say forced to go to school because of my parents, because I was so naive and I didn't know how this world works. I would say that you do not know who you're going to be in the next 5 years, and the seeds that you plant today are definitely going to help you in the future when you don't know what route to take. So unless you are one of those people that really want to dedicate yourself to one line of work, and that's the only thing you want to do, and you want to burn the bridges and not give yourself a lot of options just because you want to succeed in one route, I would say then, yeah, stick to one route, stick to one plan, stick to one goal. And for some people that can work, and that will generate you a lot of results. Me, I'm still young. I'm still 21. I don't know what the heck's going to happen in my life, but I want to know that I put myself in a lot of positions that give me a lot of, I would say, options, right? The younger you are, the more helpful it is to have options, is what I would say. And the older you are, the more specific you're going to be towards a line of work. So it's like being a T-shaped employee. You want to have a lot of base skills, but be really skilled in one thing. In my current stages, I have this one T structure for real estate, but I want to also build my skills in a lot of other things, just so that I can be very maneuverable, flexible, and I should say very maneuverable in this very fast changing world. So that's my experience when it comes to dealing with real estate and college at the same time. It helps to be very flexible in your skill sets, and it helps to be very maneuverable with what you can do in your line of work, because you never know how you're going to change and how the environment is going to change in itself. So it's possible to do both. Understand the possible limitations that you might have, understand the expectations, and know why you're doing both. Being purposeless, or being without purpose, being without meaning in doing these activities, it's not going to help you as much. And knowing why you're doing it is going to help you push through these moments when they're going to be very hard. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the question below, or in the comments below, and I'll try to help you in the best way that I can. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.